hot today because today is really hot. But what is not hot is the news about Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Home, because if you missed the news on Tuesday from E3, it was announced that Pokemon Sword and Shield would not be accepting any Pokemon that is not in the Galarian Dex. Like, they're not even coded in, which has upset people. That means if you were to transfer a Pokemon from the previous games, first of all, they can't go back. Like, they cut off that. That's how it's been for every one of those transfer devices. Secondly, they would just be stuck there. You can't transfer them to Sword and Shield. You can't bring them back. They're just there. So I'm wondering, if you don't pay up like how you did in Pokemon Bank, would those Pokemon just be deleted? That's very strange. But this has people in a flurry. And let me tell you why. It's because now, when you look at every trailer, you see a new Pokemon and you think, yes, that Pokemon is going to make the cut. But with that, we now have to hope and pray that our favorite Pokemon make the cut. That is the key here. So when we look at this, they even doubled down on it. Game Freak actually straight up doubled down, reconfirms. Everybody was hoping it was a mistranslation. When Pokemon Home was announced, it seemed like a great service that would let its players send and deposit Pokemon to the upcoming games Sword and Shield. What wasn't initially apparent was the service wouldn't let players bring any of their Pokemon from past games that species weren't found in the pair of the upcoming Nintendo Switch titles. Many fans have expressed deep concern and frustration about this issue on social media after it was announced during E3's Nintendo Treehouse with Junichi Masuda. Some hoped that it was a mistranslation. It wasn't. Or that support for all existing Pokemon would be added at some point in the future. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that Game Freak has intentions of loosening restrictions for bringing Pokemon Sword and Shield. In an interview with US Gamer, Mr. Masuda states, "There are a couple different parts to the thinking behind it, but really the biggest reason for us is the sheer number of Pokemon. We already have well over 800 Pokemon species, and there's going to be more added in these games. And now that they're on the Nintendo Switch, we're creating it with much higher fidelity, with higher quality animations. But even more than that, it's coming down to the battle system. We're making sure that we can keep everything balanced and give all the Pokemon that appear in the games a chance to shine. We all knew at some point we weren't going to be able to indefinitely keep supporting all the Pokemon, and we just found that Sword and Shield would probably be a good point to go back and reevaluate what would be the best selection of the Pokemon that appealed to the widest audience, while keeping into consideration the balance of the battle system. It isn't just going to be all new Pokemon in the Galar region Pokedex, there's going to be a lot of favorites that fans will be able to bring over that they've adventured with previously. But, yeah, it was pretty much just balancing and getting this optimal selection of Pokemon for the adventure we wanted to provide. This may be frustrating news for fans to read, but there are legitimate issues with preparing so many Pokemon models for each game's release. Hopefully Game Freak can find a way to balance their workload and also satisfy fans. Big shoutouts to PokeJungle. This article is in the link below. So my opinion on this was, originally I thought it sucked. I was like, why are you doing this? And I was on the side that said, bring the national decks, like have a national deck so we don't run into this issue. The reason why I stopped competitively battling months after Sun and Moon's release was because the meta was pretty much the same as it was in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and then I just got burned out really hard. So I'm looking at it through a different shade of tint right here, and then when I look at it, I'm thinking, if certain Pokemon aren't there, most likely the legendaries and most of the starters, then all of a sudden Pokemon that were overlooked all of a sudden are at the top of the meta. You don't have to deal with your Landorus Therians. You don't have to deal with your Celesteelas. You may or may not have to deal with your Toxapaxes. The whole point is, we might not have to deal with that, making a fresh new meta, which means we are going to drive home that fact later on this year. But not only that, I'm going to pop something here right over there real quick, because it was also announced that not only are we missing a bunch of Pokemon, but Z-moves and Mega Evolutions are not in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now that one's a little bit heart-wrenching for me, a little bit more heart-wrenching, because it kind of renders certain Pokemon back to useless tier. Pokemon like Manectric, Lopunny, maybe not Gallade, we'll have to see what Pokemon is revealed there, but even Beedrill and Pidgeot, those are not going to be able to be used at all, because they won't exist. It's really disappointing, in my opinion, but I guess they're really trying to make sure that Dynamax is the main gimmick of the game, and then so you don't have to deal with Z-moves, Megas, and Dynamax, just the whole unholy trifecta of that. But long story short, I'm going to be disappointed about losing Megas, but in the end, you just have to just go with the flow, go with the changes. That's just how it is. And some people might disagree with me. I mean, you're all entitled to your opinion, so you can go ahead and trash me in the comments if you want. I'm just as upset as you, but I am going to see how it works, because I'm going into this as a competitive battler being cautiously optimistic. That's all I'm saying. It looks like we're just going to have to roll with it, because it's a new game, and we've just had rehashes for the last couple of years, and I'm ready to go into a new adventure with new Pokemon, and that's just pretty much it. But that will wrap up this stop on the road to Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you did enjoy, don't forget to show your love on the like button by dropping a like from the top and subscribing to start the hype train today, as we are keeping moving closer and closer to week 40, as that is the final week. With that, though, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you back at the top later on, because that's how we do us.